Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav for today's session of correlation and regression. We will be looking at the price dynamics so far prevalent in the market to see how things are shaping up as the US session is underway, the North American trading session is underway, and in that we will be trying to look for the opportunities in which we can take the positions which are likely to have more profitability after considering the regression and the correlational aspect. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. And we will be this is the AUD USD chart, and if we look at the AUD USD price formation with the help of these SMA drawn on the 24 and 12 candle periods, so this is the average price for 2 hours and this is for 1 hour. And in addition to that, I have added the Donchian channel with the calculation period of 24, which gets us the price range for last 2 hours. 24 multiplied by 5 minutes each, we arrive at 120 minutes. That's 2 hours. And this Donchian channel 48 gets us the range of last 4 hours. Now if you simply take a cursory glance on the price formation so far in the day, starting from the Asian trading session, more or less the things have been rather stable. This is a day in which the volatility is quite less. Things are not, and in nutshell, the things are not really going anywhere. But as I said, the things are going somewhere and within the range. And if you simply try to exploit this situation, you will be in position to make money. And for that, you can figure out which one is the best positioned currency cross to go for the long trade and which currency cross is best suited for short selling opportunities, as you can trade both ways in this kind of markets where the range is holding quite well and we have limited volatility. The volatility is not really much, and as long as this range hold, we can try to keep looking for the opportunities. So now if we consider the AUD USD price formation, it has found some support on the lower side and now it is trying to climb up. But at the moment, if you have already missed out on the opportunity on the lower side, I don't really feel that range is fairly low. So in that context, we have to rely on the range of the underlying instrument and then position our trades accordingly so as to make sure that we are able to capture the most of the range and not get involved on the spectrum where we have limited scope for our trade to run. And looking at the picture here, I think we will have to play with the range, and with relatively stable price moves and lot less volatility, all we can do is look for the opportunities to trade near the support or the resistance. So here we have this swing low formation. The prior swing low was on the higher side, then came this swing low which is slightly less. So if we the consolidation pattern closer to this immediate swing low, or even on the higher side also where we have the immediate multiple times rejection on the higher side. So we have this price range defined at around 0.6730, which is acting as the immediate resistance zone. So that is where we can concentrate our energy to look for short selling trades. So right now it is in between, and as a result of that, we have to play the wait and watch game. But of course, as I said, it is very important for us to see, even if we are going to trade within the range, which currency cross is best position for buy and which currency cross is best position for the sell, as we have to look for the relative momentum, whether the AUD is the best suited for example, say a long trade. So we will have to compare it with the other major currencies of the world, including the Euro, GBP, CHF, NZD, CAD, and of course not to forget the JPY, to look for a comparative analysis and then draw the conclusion to trade with. So let's start one by one. Now, simply keeping in mind the timeline of the event, this swing high formation happened at 17:25 GMT and then came in the swing low as 18:05 GMT. So within the span of half an hour, we have this range for 4 hourly time frame being defined in case of AUD. Now let's compare it with the euro and see how things compare. The euro USD in the earlier instance was not making any fresh swing high. It turned on the lower side just slightly below this prior swing high. So at that point in time, the Euro USD was not really strong enough. But if we then compare its turnaround story and look at the timeline of the swing low, it made this low at 17:55 GMT and then this sharp turnaround came in. Now it is climbing on the higher side. So here we have slightly strong bullish movement in the Euro USD being observed in this immediate past half an hour or so. So we have to now be careful for short selling trades in the euro. It will be a much better idea to go for any short sell trade in AUD instead of euro. But for any buy trade to be taken later in the day, if we have it consolidating in this price band nearer the immediate swing low formation of 1.058, then in that case I think the euro should be given the first preference for the buy ahead of the AUD. But for the short sell trade, the preference should now lie with the AUD. So we have this clarity while comparing these two currency crosses. But of course, for our analysis to be complete, we have to compare the whole spectrum of major currencies trading against the US dollar. So let's shift our gaze and consider all these major currencies one by one. Now coming to the GBP USD here, the GBP USD made this swing low at around the same time as euro, and it is also now trading after having formed this fresh swing high. And similar to the case of the euro, it didn't really cross above the prior swing high and it declined on the lower side. But simply looking at the magnitude gives us the idea as well as the timeline of this high formation that it is trading ahead of the AUD. So we have that much clarity in place with this correlational analysis telling us that of all the three currencies which we have seen so far, the Euro USD has the best bullish momentum and the AUD has the bearish momentum, slightly bearish you can say in comparative terms, and GBP is coming in between. So that's the case with the price movement so far, and overall the picture is of subdued volatility with these range bound moves holding in most of the major currencies. Now what we can do is try to figure out the opportunities with these subdued volatility, and for that of course let's compare these currencies. Now coming to the NZD, the NZD is also looking slightly stronger compared to the AUD, and it is even behind the GBP in its price formation. So far we have to place it behind the GBP. So using this relational study and its timeline of the turn of events. Here, the NZD turned the corner after making low at 18:05 GMT, 18:05 GMT, and now it is almost close to making the fresh 4 hourly high. So, with this in mind, the NZD also is taking a lead. And if we look at the magnitude of its rise, it is more than 30 pips. That's somewhere half a percentage point for the climb in percentage term, and if we compare it to the AUD, it is slightly higher for compared to AUD. So both in terms of the magnitude as well as in terms of its timing of the rise, the NZD is trading on the stronger footing. So we have to compare this and draw the inference that it is better placed for the buy trade compared to the AUD, but not so better than the GBP and the Euro. So we still have the case for the buy trade to be taken in the Euro and for the sell trade to be taken in the AUD against the dollar. Now we will have to invert the scales as USD is becoming the first currency and then see how things are shaping up. For USD CAD, the turnaround started after making this fresh swing low at 1805 GMT, which is the same as NZD, and also it is now similar to the NZD climbing, and it is now getting the USD CAD to its immediate swing low price. And if we compare it to the prior price formation, the USD CAD is not far off from its day high. So that is the interesting phenomena here. For other currencies, including the euro, the immediate swing high is not really the day high, but for the USD CAD, it is going to be the day high, and even for the NZD, it is not so. So in that context, the USD CAD has to be placed ahead of the NZD, but since it is still lagging to climb past this immediate swing low, we will have to still place it behind the euro. So here the ranking, its gating is ahead of the NZD, but it is behind the euro. So we have the lead of the bullish momentum with the euro, and CAD is after the GBP and ahead of the NZD. As I said, let's consider the USD CHF. CHF is also appreciating against the dollar, and now it is going towards the prior swing low, the day's low, which is there at around 0.9330, and it is some distance from that level. The low was at 0.9283 actually, and it is almost 20 pips from those low reached earlier in the day, but it is trading quite strong just like the euro. So we will have to keep looking for the opportunities. And now when we have to decide whether it is the better placed currency than euro or not, I think it is trading at the moment even better compared to the euro. So we have the most bullish momentum against the dollar in the CHF right now, as it is continuing to decline. It is appreciating against the dollar, and even the timeline of the event, it turned the corner earlier compared to the euro, and the magnitude of this decline is also substantial. So taken together, all these factors are painting the picture that the CHF is the most bullish against the dollar at the moment of all the major currencies which we have seen, and AUD is the one which is lagging in these appreciating moves, and it is trying to catch up. So that's the case with the AUD. So when we will be trading with the range and when we will see things stabilize on the higher side, the short selling opportunities will arise in the AUD compared to the other major currencies. And for momentum, if the momentum remains on this side only, then we will have the CHF and then followed by the euro, GBP, and other major currencies to trade with. Before we draw a final conclusion, let's consider the developments in the USD JPY. USD JPY is the one which has continued to climb throughout the day. It started the day low at 135.75, and from that level it has climbed up substantially, almost the move of 130-140 pips, and after that move it seems to be stabilizing on the higher side. Now looking at the current price trajectory, it's appearing that the JPY is actually one of the weakest currency trading against the dollar. It has depreciated a lot, whereas in other major currencies we have seen mostly sideways moves. So apparently the JPY is trading even more bearish than the AUD. AUD is going sideways with slightly bearish bias, but in case of the JPY, the bearishness is actually pushing it lower and lower, and as a result of that USD JPY is climbing up and up. So with this case in mind, now we have the full spectral analysis in place, with the JPY being the most bearish and the CHF being the most bullish against the dollar. Now looking at this price formation and the limited range, you will have to decide which currency to trade at which point and on which side. So I would suggest that as and when you will make your mind for going long in the dollar, then USD JPY will be the best placed currency to trade with. And when you will decide the USD CHF, sorry, the it's time to go against the dollar and short it. In that scenario, the USD CHF is actually the best placed currency cross to trade with. So we have these answers using our correlational analysis. Now let's turn our gaze to the equity segment. On the equity side, we have the Dow Jones Industrial Average also trading in this narrow range, and just like other major currencies, the Dow is not going anywhere for the day. It is trading in this narrow range of around 1 percentage point. So the volatility is quite less for today's session compared to all major currencies, major financial instruments. Now, if we have to trade in the Dow at the moment, then we will have to keep in mind that it is simply consolidating and it is holding well closer to this immediate swing low. So I think using this, we can try to go for the some buy trade, and if it doesn't really decline much on the lower side below 32,800, then I think we will have indeed the options arising for us to go for the long trade. But of course, then we have to decide whether the Dow is the instrument which we want to go long in the equity space, or we have the better options coming up with S&P 500 or Nasdaq for that matter. So let's consider these relational aspects, and then we will define and determine which instrument to trade with. So here we have the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is declining and declining, so it is on the weaker side compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So here I think we clearly have the lead with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, as it has stabilized and consolidated in a better manner compared to the S&P 500. So the lead is with the S&P 500, but on the bearish side. And on the bullish side, if not totally bullish, the some inclination is more pronounced in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So we have these two instruments where we will have to give preference for the Dow Jones Industrial Average in case we want to go for the long trade, and in case we want to continue to bet on the bearishness, then we will have to go with the S&P 500. Let's see the development for the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is also apparently on the weaker side. It has declined more than 1 percentage point since the start of the North American session, and now it is sitting closer to the 11,100 range. And let's consider it in terms of its relation with the S&P 500 to see which is the most bearish of these two. The immediate swing low came in at 1840 GMT. Prior to that, this low was formed at 1515 GMT. Now, if we compare it to the prior range, it's around the same time, 1840 GMT. It is almost similar. So the price range is almost similar. There is not much of a difference between these two. So I think it is simply a matter of taste, or let's compare it in other way, that is the magnitude of decline. And if we compare the magnitude of decline, that's the advantage with Nasdaq, where the magnitude of decline is higher compared to what we are observing for the S&P 500. So we will take the trade with the Nasdaq instead of going with the S&P 500 if we have to go for the short sell. But if we see things stabilizing and holding around these same levels for next couple of hours, then we will have the opportunity to trade with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So that's the relational analysis, correlational analysis inference, which we can draw using the timeline and the magnitude of these moves which we are observing with the analysis of the market moves happening. Have a fabulous time and a profitable day ahead. See you next time around. Thank you all for joining.